It is the sixth day of the Israeli bombardment of Gaza in retaliation for the worst attacks on Israel in over 50 years. The Red Cross says hospitals in the enclave are overwhelmed and fuel supplies are running dangerously low. Today, the death toll in Gaza has risen to over 1,400 lives, and the Israeli government has said no food or water will enter the Strip until the hostages being held by Hamas are freed. Well, covering the story for us today is our correspondent in Jerusalem, Iris Makler. She's with me right now. Iris, first of all, what's the latest on the situation in Gaza today?
It only gets worse, and the reality is that the most important thing they don't have now is electricity. They can't get it from Israel. Usually they need fuel to power it. They're not getting fuel either. That leaves most people without communications, without heat, water, light, and the hospitals, most importantly, without that as well. It also means, in the end, no water and no sewage. So it's crucial for people living in any society, let alone in the current state of people in Gaza. And I can't stress enough how very soon there will be a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe, not just crisis, if people in this circumstance don't have power and water. And because the generators, which will allow, let's say, hospitals to continue to function, they rely on fuel too. So as soon as that fuel runs out, so the hospitals shut down too. The International Red Cross said today that the hospitals were turning into morgues there. So that just gives you a feeling. And I do think that people are starting to eye that border with Egypt as perhaps somewhere where they could go, because I don't know how much longer, how many days they're going to have of doable, livable life in these conditions.
And Iris, also today, Antony Blinken, the US's top diplomat, is in Israel. He's been meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I want your thoughts on that. But first, let's listen to a little of what Blinken had to say this afternoon.
As Israel's defense needs evolve, we will work with Congress to make sure that they're met. And I can tell you, there is overwhelming bipartisan support in our Congress for Israel's security. Here in Israel and everywhere, we will reaffirm the crystal clear warning that President Biden issued yesterday to any adversary, state or non-state, thinking of taking advantage of the current crisis to attack Israel. Don't. The United States has Israel's back.
And so, Iris, what would you say was the main message of Antony Blinken on that trip today?
Well, it's loyalty to Israel. You don't often hear one nation speak about another in that way. He went on to say that Israel doesn't need Israel is very self-reliant. So are the Israeli people. They don't need American support, but they have it if they do need it, and they have it in any event. So that was a clear-cut message. It's a clear-cut message to Lebanon. It's a clear-cut message to Iran. If you don't have a really good reason, don't do it. And even if you have a good reason, don't do it. I think what they want to see here is, if there is going to be a ground war, that it shouldn't take in the whole region. He spoke on a personal level too, by the way, and said that he had Jewish antecedents. His grandfather had fled Russian pogroms. His stepfather was a survivor of the Holocaust in Europe during World War II. So he had personal reasons for being with Israel or standing by Israel, but that was not all. I do think that one of the important things he is here for, one of the reasons he's here, is to try and organize some kind of humanitarian corridor so that people who are being held captive in Gaza, particularly women and children, particularly people with dual nationality, can find a way out, perhaps in return for some kind of humanitarian goods. That's one option. And I wonder also, there's some speculation here whether he might not be trying to organize a wider corridor. Like, who else could go through that corridor? Palestinian women and children, the Palestinians who are sick at the moment and who need medical treatment in hospitals that cannot give it to them. So all of those things are being discussed with some speculation, but what he definitely said was America stands by Israel.